Okay, now I'm downstairs. Just came out the back door and I'm going to do this week's video tour of the ground level. So my back porch here is my seed starting and seedling area. There's a planter full of mesclun baby salad greens. I decided to actually keep them in the planter rather than transplanting them out of there, and just to see how that works. Then in the wintertime, I could probably grow that in the house. Of course, a different batch. I will have eaten those by then. So the foxgloves are blooming beautifully. This right here is a very large bunch of wild arugula. It's not really wild. Well, it is wild actually. It reseeds itself every year. I haven't planted it in many years, and it's one of my most prevalent weeds in my garden. But I'm glad that it comes up in so many places because I love to eat it. So these are the datura seedlings that David gave me that were volunteers in his garden. And I've planted a few little parsley seedlings in here. Let's see. This is a parsley seedling right there in the middle. I grew that from seed. I think I planted about 6 or 7 of them in here. Oh, I see another one right there. There's a parsley seedling. There are also some foxglove seedlings coming up on their own down here. This is, I just forgot the name of it. Something honeysuckle. It doesn't look anything like a regular honeysuckle vine. It's a, oh well, I can't think of it. So these are some more datura. They're not doing quite as well as that one over there. Oh, and here I have a parsley seedling. And here I have a parsley seedling. And here I have 2 parsley seedlings, along with these other daturas. The bleeding hearts are at the end of their blooming time. There's a nice big foxglove. And I love this obretia, or rock cress. Oh, I have some little forget-me-nots starting to come up. They come up on their own, volunteer. There's one. And that is also a forget-me-not. Oh, and my fuchsias are about to bloom. Just a few days ago, I had to move this big clump of Corsican mint because it was starting to grow up my fence, which is not good for my fence. So I moved it here, and I'm happy to see that it seems to be doing really well. My peony is coming to the end of its blooming period as well. That's my wisteria that I'm trying a new pruning method on to try to keep it under control. So I have this huge project I'm doing lately, which is cleaning and restoring my fence. And so here will be some before pictures of what it looks like. It has had a paraffin penetrating oil finish on it. It's been applied a couple different times over the years since it was built. But so there's a big bunch of moss growing on it, which is really bad for the wood. We'll get to a part that I've finished with raw organic linseed oil and pine tar. So I'm starting to get a bunch of little weeds over there. It's time to do some weeding. As soon as I finish this video, I think I'll probably spend about an hour weeding out here. I think this is called a blue spruce. It's like a weeping spruce, I think. I think I have that name right. So here's a fuchsia that's just beginning to bloom. None of them have opened fully yet, but it's getting close. There's another nice patch of Corsican mint. And my favorite columbine. And I'm enjoying these really cool succulents. I'm beginning to get the hang of how to grow them properly. It looks like a kitty cat must have pulled this one out. Try to give it there. Okay. So, oh, great. The cat has been digging in here. I don't have a cat, but the neighbors have 4 cats. And unfortunately, they use my garden as their restroom. So that is tall garden phlox. It's going to have lots of big white flowers on it. So I've got some weeds here to pull. It's definitely time to do some weeding. More clumps of tall garden phlox back there. Oh, so the fence. Here is a part that I've scrubbed. Oh, wow. One of my Siberian irises blooming. That's so exciting. I had no idea. I didn't know they were going to bloom this year. So this corner of the fence right here, let's see, I'll zoom in. It's not very focused. I've scrubbed that with linseed oil soap. And then I need to continue on. Scrub this part so it won't be green and brown and weathered anymore. There's a little bit that I scrubbed right there on the edge. Well, that is so exciting that my Siberian iris are blooming. I love it. My bearded iris out in the parking strip are just ending right as these are starting to bloom. I dug up almost all of them. Maybe I might not have dug these ones up. Maybe that's why they're blooming. I dug up most of my Siberian iris and moved them because they were very close to the fence and would have gotten in the way of the restoration work that I'm doing on the fence. So these are daylilies. They're actually going to be really fancy daylilies. I actually prefer the really basic kind, but gosh, it's getting so things are growing so much back here that I'm wondering if my amaranth are going to get enough sun. There's an amaranth seedling. And that little amaranth seedling is just doing nothing. So, oh no, I was going to pull that thing off, but that wasn't working. It doesn't have a bottom in it. I cut the bottom out and it's just an enclosure to keep the seedling safe. Oh, and I have a whole bunch of volunteer tomatoes. I'm not actually going to keep them because I've planted a bunch of tomatoes where I want them. But there was a tomato plant back here last year, and so I have a whole patch of tomato seedlings right here amongst my arugula. Oh, wow. I have some really tall lily plants here too. Those have gotten much taller. Oh, and there's another Siberian iris. Yay, that's starting to bloom. I assume that I must have moved those ones. It'll be interesting to see if the ones out in the parking strip seem like they might bloom. So look at this. This is a gardenia, and it is covered in buds that look like they're all going to bloom. I have never had so many gardenias on this bush before. I've had it for many years and it stayed quite small, but it's usually made a few flowers, and it looks like this is going to be covered in flowers. So here I have a tomato plant with a nice tomato flower on it. And I mentioned in a previous video that I planted these tomatoes in holes because I want their roots to be really, really deep. And so as they grow, I fill in the holes. Oh, I'll take it off of the telephoto. And this is my blueberry plant, blueberry bush. It has a bunch of blueberries on it. And okay, this is my first bean teepee made from bamboo poles that my friend Bob Symbol gave me. And they're going to be strings for the beans to climb up, and it's actually getting to be about time that I put those in. So I have squash in the middle there, little lettuces all around. These pieces of hardware cloth are to deter the cats. I noticed that one of these seedlings is falling over. Let's see, this is a red Russian kale. So I have a bunch of red Russian kale right here. This is my hill, my squash hill. Has two kinds of winter squash on it. So I put this little bird netting fence around it so that the cats wouldn't paw at it and knock it down like they were doing. But so now they're digging just outside of it. So those squash are looking great. On Sunday, I tried using neem oil for the first time because I was noticing a few aphids on a few plants. And so I have some lovely little nasturtium seedlings down here. They really attract aphids. Hopefully getting the aphids away from my other plants, but I'm going to need to keep a close eye on them and spray them with dilute neem oil on a regular basis. Oh, one of them doesn't look too happy there. So these are radishes on the sides of my hill. Oh, and I have cucumbers in between the nasturtiums all the way around the circle. And those other things that look like they could even conceivably be weeds are actually sweet alyssum. They're going to be covered in little white, sweet-smelling flowers. Okay, there's another nasturtium. It's going to be a black nasturtium. Another one. So I have a second bean teepee now. This one's shorter than the other. I'll get a distance shot in a little bit. So, okay, this is my garlic chives growing here from last year. really big and bushy. I actually made some lemon garlic herb butter in my little food processor a couple days ago, and I put some garlic chives in that. So these are broccoli seedlings that I grew from seed. And then these are collards that I grew from seed. And then this is my second planting of beans around this bean teepee. It also has tomatoes in the three corners, lettuce around the little squash hill, and so those are some kind of summer squash that are going to grow up this stick. I'm going to tie them up the stick as they grow. Oh, I have a bunch more lovely succulents down here at the base of my fence. Some more Corsican mint. I'm trying to cultivate as much Corsican mint all around my garden as possible. I'd like that to be my main ground cover. So, under some bird netting here, I have lots of little tiny, wow, I wonder what that thing is. It looks like a little, I don't know what that is. Oh well. So I have beets interspersed with my little basil seedlings. And when I put them out, they just had the 2 seed leaves. But now they're getting their 3rd and 4th leaves. Oh, there's some more nice succulents getting really bushy under there. And this is a star jasmine. It makes star-shaped jasmine flowers that smell incredible. And that right there, is the very first, my very first jasmine blossom. Let's see if I can get it. My very first jasmine blossom is starting to open right there. That's pretty exciting. I'm going to have to pull it away from the fence here to finish scrubbing and oiling my fence. So right there is where all that Corsican mint was growing up my fence, and I moved it away from there. This is getting to be a very detailed tour. You can always skip ahead if you get bored. So that big bush outside of my window of the lower level of my house, that is that's a Daphne, my favorite smelling plant. I love Daphne. Oh, and this actually is supposed to be my herb garden right outside of my kitchen door, kind of between my side door and my front door. So this is culinary sage in full bloom. Some fancy grasses in the back there. And then this is a flat-leafed parsley. I think that's Italian parsley. That is about to make flowers to go to seed. And I love parsley, so I'm gonna let the seeds mature on it and collect the seeds. So I'll have a large quantity of parsley seeds to plant and to share. So I have 2 parsley plants going to seed. And then this is a bunch of succulents too, outside of my back door. Okay. So you might have noticed that my patio furniture wasn't out back. Some teak patio furniture that I bought many years ago, and it got terribly, terribly weathered. It looked like it needed to be thrown away. And now it looks beautiful. I scrubbed it with linseed oil soap, and then I oiled it with raw organic linseed oil yesterday. Let it soak in and dry overnight, and now I just oiled it for the second time today, and I can't believe how dark it is. It actually was quite light after I scrubbed it and cleaned it. There's my front door. So here's a view from the distance of my parking strip area. And my purple rhododendron. And there's another wonderful Daphne. These are tall garden phlox. Wow, this green zebra grass, green and white striped zebra grass that I planted is really growing. And those are going to be some really tall black-eyed Susans. David calls them golden glows. They're a perennial black-eyed Susan. They grow to be about 5 to 7 feet tall. And there's a bunch of other things planted down in that bed, but they haven't gotten very big yet. This is heavenly bamboo. And this is the entryway to my house. So this is what the fence looked like before it got scrubbed with linseed oil soap. And here's what it looks like after scrubbing it with linseed oil soap. So this part is ready for linseed oil. And then I'm going to put pine tar mixed 50-50 with linseed oil. So there's just a couple little parts of this section of fence that I've scrubbed a little bit, but it's not finished. And then this curved part, I've scrubbed that. So this is my bed of salad greens. And this is the section of fence that I've finished. Scrubbed it, oiled it, and pine tarred it. So that's what it looks like all done. And here's what it looks like before. This part doesn't actually look too bad. It doesn't have any of the green algae and moss growing on it. My Spanish lavender is blooming. And another one. And I have some little wild strawberries growing between the cracks in the rocks. And there's a whole dense row of daylilies with some columbine, purple columbine mixed in. So this is called a little Tom Thumb butterhead lettuce. And there's about 7 of them there with some radishes in between. And these are beets. These are more radishes. This is another kind of lettuce that I just pricked out a couple days ago. It says red butterhead. Huh, it doesn't look red to me. And these are some more of those baby mesclun salad greens, which I'll be picking the outer leaves off of and letting them continue to produce and see how long that lasts. And Now I've got red and green lettuce starting here. And my daylilies have little buds on them. I remember one year they just started blooming like right as I was heading down to the country fair in the first week of July. And this is May 21st, and I have daylily buds, so that's kind of amazing. We've had an extremely hot spring, actually, so probably has a lot to do with that. I'm really excited that these lobelia, trailing sapphire lobelia, have transplanted so well. And that is another amaranth. And then there's a bunch of little annual black-eyed Susans. Those are some small ones that have come up on their own. So this is what it looks like when it gets bigger. It's going to have big, beautiful black-eyed Susan flowers on it. There's another one. And one of those cool grasses, which is trying to go to seed. And I don't know if I'm going to want to have those as weeds everywhere, so I might actually cut it back. And this is the tail end of my purple bearded iris that David gave me. They've been just lovely this spring. And this is my first pea patch. I have 2 patches of peas, and there's a bunch of sunflowers mixed in with the peas. Here's one. And these are dragon lilies. Oh, wow. I might have to do a video before a week is up, because that one looks like it's going to bloom in a few days. You can see the maroon color in it. So I've got one blossom forming there, a second one, a third one, and a fourth one. This is a dahlia that I didn't actually think was going to come back. And it was totally covered in earwigs on Sunday. And I sprayed it with very dilute neem oil, and it doesn't seem like the earwigs have come back. So that was pretty effective. Here's some of the sunflowers that are growing in here. And then this is perennial black-eyed Susan. Wow, you can start to see some of the color on this dragon lily flower. It's going to be a deep maroon color. So I didn't put any supports in for my peas. These are supposed to be semi-bush peas. Oh, wow. Oh no, I thought it was starting to make a flower, but it's not yet. More wonderful trailing sapphire lobelia. It doesn't have flowers on it yet. I wonder if these are going to be chives. I have all these little onion-like things coming up all on their own, all over the place. These little seedlings are, oh my gosh, I forgot. Zinnias, that's it, zinnias. I've never grown zinnias before. And I think this is called lamb's ear. I transplanted that from my side yard. And a row of radishes. I actually planted this row of radishes along the sidewalk for the primary purpose of trying to make it look very intentional, because people and dogs walk in these parking strips on a surprisingly regular basis, and they end up stepping on and killing my plants. So I'm trying to make it look more intentional. Well, that's a really nice annual black-eyed Susan right there. I planted some little wild iris here just about a week ago. Have several of them. And there's some kind of squash coming up, some kind of summer squash. Oh, the honeysuckle I was talking about, it's called the Himalayan honeysuckle. I couldn't think of that. It's not here. I just remembered that. So there's some more squash plants that are doing nicely. Wow, these ones look really good. And some kind of mustard came up just all on its own there. I didn't plant that one. And that is Fabricia rock cress. It makes beautiful purple flowers. Oh, and so I don't have radishes all along here. Here I have beets. I ran out of radish seeds, so these are little beet seedlings coming up. Perennial black-eyed Susan. Oh, and then all these little like stubby things throughout here are red hot poker plant. I had one big one that I divided up into sections and gave some away and planted the rest in here. And that's my rosemary bush that didn't really take to transplanting too well. I think I need to spray it with neem oil. It's got a little spittle bug on it. And so these are the Siberian iris that I transplanted. Oh, wow! That one is making a flower. Amazing. Oh, and another one is making a flower. Oh my goodness, this is so exciting. Let's see. There is the Siberian iris about to bloom, and here's a blossom forming. Yay! Oh gosh, look, see, this is what happens. Some kind of animals come in here and dig. I think that might be a chive that's coming up there. I didn't plant them, but I'm happy to have them. I need some chives, actually. Well, I don't need them if those are chives. I've got them. So these are, wow, they're cucumbers. But I think there was a cucumber here where I just like fixed it and the cucumber's gone now. Darn. So my zinnias are coming up along here. I marked each of them with a toothpick. It didn't come up there though. There's the toothpick. Oh well. Probably got stepped on. So this is another row of cucumbers. And then this is my second squash patch. And daylilies. And this is a golden rain tree. Ooh, there's another flower bud on, this is a tiny little daylily plant. I think it makes small yellow flowers. That's a lemon verbena bush that I transplanted, and I'm really happy that it did all right with the transplant. So these are dinosaur kale, lacinato kale, I think that's how you say it. I have to watch out that those don't get aphids on them. This one is falling over. And this is some kind of heirloom zucchini in here. And then I have some volunteer calendula right there. That's my bicycle shed. And this is my garden shed. Gosh, I wonder what this is. I guess it's just moss. So I have a bunch of variegated fuchsias in here, and then in the middle there's some that reverted back to not being variegated, and there's some foxgloves growing at the back there. And this is my oregano patch that I've been using pretty much every day, keeping it picked short so that it'll stay nice and bushy instead of getting really tall and leggy. I guess people are stepping on those little succulents, unfortunately. So this is a Himalayan honeysuckle right here, which is pretty established there with big roots, so it should send some nice tall spikes up. This is my tree peony, which was one of my very first things to bloom. And some nice bleeding hearts around it, and big hostas. They will be big. And I have evergreen clematis coming over the trellis on the garden shed. And there's a fuchsia beginning to bloom, getting close to blooming. Another hosta. And these metal stakes with the pieces of wood on top are hose guides so that when I water the garden it doesn't knock the plants over. And that chartreuse plant right there is a volunteer Himalayan honeysuckle. It's a different variety than that one that we just looked at a moment ago. I can't remember the name of this plant, but it makes tall spikes of pink flowers, and boy, it's really getting very bushy. Then I have a whole bunch of columbine in here, but they're mostly done blooming. Wow, so these ones are kind of a reddish purple, and these are a very bluish purple. So I kind of have two shades. I might collect seeds from them, mostly to give away because I have more columbine than I need in my garden. And that's my little Honda Fit. It's so handy for camping in. And these are asters that David gave me. They hardly bloomed last year, and now I divided them up, and it looks like they're probably going to do just fine and bloom this year. So that's it for this week's garden tour. And one more shot of my beautifully finished fence that I worked so hard on. Very happy with the result. All right, thanks for watching. Until next week.